We're taking a drive in scenic northern Maine today, and I mean northern as far as you can go up in Maine to the Canadian border at the very top. So it took us a couple hours to get up here from our base in Holton. We're going to start here at the beginning of Route 1. We're going to drive south down to this St. John Valley through Aroostook County. We are at Fort Kent, Maine, which is the beginning of Route 1. And Route 1 goes all the way from here, all the way down the East Coast to Key West, Florida. And we've been to the end of it in Key West, and this is the beginning. Not quite as glamorous as Key West, but a historical marker nonetheless. And we love coming up here to do scenic drives in the northern Maine countryside. There is the Fort Kent border crossing, right over this little bridge and into Canada. And here is the fort of Fort Kent. This was built in 1839 as part of a boundary dispute between Maine and New Brunswick. So as you can see from this plaque, Maine wanted to put the border way up north. New Brunswick and Great Britain wanted to put the border farther south, so they finally referred it over to a boundary commission, which drew the border kind of halfway in between the proposed boundaries, and that is the current border of Maine. But this little fort here was just built as part of the Aroostook War, which was a bloodless, battleless war, just while this boundary dispute was going on.
And of course, they came up with their own Aroostook war song here, which was pretty funny.
Yeah. Visiting the fort today, Griff?
Are you a fort dog?
I think that the Boy Scouts maybe maintained this.
Oh, nice.
So that's why the two boys were running the gift shop. This rock is necessary to hold the DVD down so it doesn't skip.
I think this is narrated by a Boy Scout. I bet this is probably an Eagle Scout project
Eagle
or something.
Scout project.
Fun.
Interesting.
So began the dispute that would later be known as the Bloodless Aroostook War. The area was first settled.
So when we were in Key West several years ago, I got a fridge magnet because we collect magnets for our travels. And I got one for the very end of Route 1 in Key West. And whenever I come to Fort Kent, I always think I should be able to pick up a magnet for the beginning of Route 1. And I'm always surprised when there aren't any. We've only been here a couple of times, but we're going to check out some drugstores and grocery stores today just to make sure that there's no beginning of Route 1 magnet. Let's see what we can find. Well, as I suspected, zero beginning of Route 1 magnets in Fort Kent. We have looked at 3 different places in the last half hour. None of them even sold any Maine fridge magnets, let alone Route 1. So
how'd you console yourself?
We are gonna have to console ourselves with some more whoopie pies.
Driving along the Maine-New Brunswick border here along the river, and that right there is New Brunswick.
And did you also tell me that Aroostook County is larger than Connecticut and Rhode Island combined?
I did tell you that.
Wow.
Aroostook County has a few nicknames. It's sometimes called the Crown of Maine, because if you look at the map, it crowns the top of Maine. Also, because it's so big, it's at the top, it's just called the county. So I'm not merely a Mainer, I am also a county boy.
It's very important to people up here if you were born here or if you're from away.
Yes.
It's not a fake thing. It's very real.
So you were not born here.
No.
So you're from away. I was born here. I may have been away, but I'm not from away.
Once people realize that you're from here, a whole world of doors open up that would not otherwise.
It's a secret society almost.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of, and again, not knowing who's going to watch this video, I can't speak to some of the details. You don't even know most of them.
Right, that's true.
It's all true. Look how relatively populated it is on the New Brunswick side, because that's as far south as they can go.
Right.
So they cluster around
Prime
the
real estate for the
warmest
Canadians.
part of the country is that little strip right there. So it is kind of interesting. In the Maine borders, it's often more populated on the other side when you're up this way.
So here's the crossing at Madawaska. It's just a 5-ton bridge. So big trucks would not come across here, but looks like there's a pretty big town of Edmundston, New Brunswick on the other side. At Four Corners Park in Madawaska, Maine, and we weren't sure exactly what this was. We saw some signs for it down in Holton, so we decided to come up. But it's sponsored by a motorcycle riding association. You can see the Harley-Davidson monument behind me here. But apparently there are the 4 extreme corners of the continental United States, the northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, make these 4 corners, and Madawaska is the northeasternmost point of the U.S., right?
Well, it's the most northeastern town of the United States. One of the 4 corners is what I've read somewhere.
So apparently there's a motorcycle ride where if you can ride to all the 4 corners of the country within 21 days, you finish the 4 corners tour, and then you can get a
you could sponsor
a brick.
Yeah,
you get a brick.
Anyone can sponsor them, but only the people who've completed the 4 corners can do the reddish bricks. So that's a little way to stand out. And then there's a in-state version as well that's kind of fun. So it gets very recursive. So Maine has Madawaska to Lubec, Kittery, and Grafton Notch are the 4 extreme corners of the state of Maine as well.
That's really
So you can get 4 corners within a 4 corners.
So as Jason was saying, Madawaska in Aroostook County is the northernmost part of the eastern United States, but just across the river in New Brunswick, that is a southernmost point of Canada. So while there's only 3,700 people is the population of Madawaska, right across the river you have a thriving town of 16,000 people in Edmundston. Lots of signs in French up here because of all the French Canadians. Well, New Brunswick is not French though, so why is there so much French up here?
Well, actually, part of New Brunswick is, but there's a stretch from Quebec through northern Maine into New Brunswick that's just known as Acadia, and that was French settlers, men, almost primarily, because they were doing, lumber as well as fur trapping, and so that was a huge population up here. So the Acadian culture actually then goes from here, as there's some kind of persecution or something that drove the Acadians out, and they made their way down the East Coast, and they just kept getting driven out over the years until they finally, I think, ended up in literally a swamp in New Orleans, and that's where you get Cajun from. It's just Acadian said a little differently. Yeah.
Interesting. This statue is all the emblematic symbols of Maine. I'm not sure what some of these are, but I know that the pine cone is the state flower, right?
It's the white tassel pine cone.
Blueberry pie. And look at this. Our favorite whoopie pies.
There's a can of Moxie.
Fish. Moose. A Maine Coon cat, which is what our cat Ella is, Maine Coon. And I assume these are chickadees on the moose horns, which is the state bird of Maine. That is really cool. We're at the end of the line for the St. John Valley Scenic Byway. Here is the Canadian border. Last turnaround before border.
So,
it's not impossible to cross the border by mistake, but...
and it's not recommended.
And it's not recommended.
Our neighbors in the RV park accidentally went into Canada the other day. And they had a nice, very friendly 20-minute conversation coming back in. And they asked, this must happen a lot. And the Border Patrol people they were talking said, 2 or 3 times a day.
Thanks for coming with us today along the St. John Valley Scenic Byway in northern Aroostook County, Maine. We had a great day and we saw some new things that we've never seen before, so if you are ever up in this area, well worth the drive along the Canadian border in this beautiful area of the country. And we will see you next week, and until then, don't forget to explore outside your door. Bye guys!